This topic is finding the area of a parallelogram. Remember that parallelograms by definition have four sides, and opposite sides are parallel. And that's what these symbols here mean. The two symbols mean that those two sides are parallel, and the one little arrow means that those two sides are parallel. Now I'm going to make a couple of transformations to this parallelogram so you can see where we get the area of a parallelogram from. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to split off this right triangle right here. So this is the triangle that I'm talking about right here. Next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to slide that right triangle over, up and over, and it's going to end up right over here. It'll still have its right angle right approximately there. So now if we imagine that right triangle was slid over, our whole new shape would look like this. It would be a rectangle that looks just like this, with a right angle right here. Of course, all the sides would then be right angles. And that new rectangle will have one side of 12 yards, and we know that because it is labeled from right here to right here, 12 yards. And the other side will be 9. Again, this is labeled 9 yards. So the other side will be 9 yards. So it's a 9 by 12 rectangle. And of course, we know the area of a rectangle is base times height. So the area of my green rectangle there is 12 times 9, which is 108 square yards. And because all I did was shift this triangle over, I slid this triangle over from right here to right here. We call that a translation. I didn't change the area of my figure. I just moved this area from right here to right here. So the area of the parallelogram is also going to be 108 square yards. And this gives us the formula for the area of a parallelogram. The area of a parallelogram is always base times the height, with the base and height being perpendicular to each other. And what I mean by this, normally we think of base as the side that a figure is sitting on, but in this case the 13 is not the base. The 12 is the base, and the reason we know that it's the base is because the perpendicular part is the height, this 9 right here, and the height and the base must be perpendicular to each other, which means they must join at a right angle. On this next one, I can cut off a right triangle right here and slide that right triangle over to be right here. Then my figure becomes this green rectangle. And all I did was slide this triangle right here over to right here. This part right here, this dash part, is not part of our actual figure. This is just showing us that this part right here is perpendicular to this part right here. So to find the base of this new rectangle, our base is going to be 13 feet. And the reason that it's going to be 13 feet is because this part plus this part equals 13, and this part has just been moved over here. So we can say this is 13 feet, and of course the top part is also 13 feet. And the height is this distance right here. It is perpendicular to this side, perpendicular, so the height is 6 feet. And this 9 has really nothing to do with our figure. This 9 is this part right here, which has nothing to do with the area of it whatsoever. So the area is base times height, and the base of our rectangle is 13, the height is 6. 13 times 6 is 60 plus 18, which is 78 square feet. And when you're doing these area problems of parallelograms, you do not have to actually box off the triangle that you're sliding over. All you have to do is find what part of the parallelogram is perpendicular to its height, and that's going to be your base. So the part that's perpendicular, this part right here is perpendicular, and then of course this part right down here is. So we can say the 14, because it's perpendicular to this height right here, the 14 is going to be the base. This is the base, and this will be the height. So area equals the base, 14 times the height, and 14 times 14, it would be 16, 56, 4, 1, 196 square yards.